This here is a really neat plant. It's called a cranberry hibiscus. It actually is a hibiscus. It throws out flowers. You can eat them. You can throw them in a salad. You can take these leaves. You can throw them in a salad. You can take the flowers. You can make tea out of them. Really cool. And there is another pencil cactus. They just keep coming up all over. This here is another firebush. They make really neat little flowers. Let's see if I find one. There you go. Really neat flowers. The hummingbirds like them. Unfortunately, we don't have any hummingbirds. Another Nepalese type cactus. This thing here with the leaves on it is called a desert rose. Really, really pretty flowers when they bloom. And that's Andrea's rooster over there. And there's another shot of Pedro. I rescued Pedro from next door. They had him out in the trash. He was all white, chipped up, so I kind of fixed him and just gave him some kind of a paint job. Likewise with this cactus here. He was sitting over there in the trash in a bucket, and I moved him over here. And he's gotten a couple of babies coming up. Not quite sure why he's as yellow as he is, but he is. And here's another shot of my fern and bromeliad garden. Oh, and here, this is what a crying lily flower looks like. They call them spider lilies. And again, back in the day, you would find these all over Florida. Oh, and back to the pallet in the water. The reason it's there is because the alligators and the turtles come up and sun themselves on it. We noticed a long time ago that the turtles were all mossy and they had green stuff all over their back, so they come up here and they sun and beat it off. There's cactus going up on the side of my oak tree. Those are dragon fruit cactus. Have you ever had dragon fruit? That's where they come from. Now, y'all know what mangroves are. These are mangroves. Mangroves are supposed to live in brackish water. They're not supposed to grow in fresh water. Everybody told me I could not grow mangroves in fresh water. Well, guess what? I'm growing mangroves in fresh water. And then they said, well, you can't reproduce them in fresh water. Let me see if I can zoom this sucker in. When they reproduce, they have flowers, and then they have these seed pods that come out on them. And I don't know if you see them or not, but there are seed pods hanging off of my tree. So I'm on my second and third generation of mangroves here in my water, which is 0.03% saline. This is the backside of Andrea's butterfly garden. I had to build a deck back here for plants and my sprinkler pump. A couple more cactuses. There is another tree of cactus. This is the one that started it all. Got it in a small dish garden. It got knocked over during Hurricane Ian. Had to prop it up, but it's there. And this is a magnolia. You all should know what a magnolia tree is. Read Gone with the Wind if you don't. It's a magnolia tree. And this is the backside of my magnolia. They call them walking trees in Florida, and I'm going to try to show you why, if I can get down here or not. I don't know. I can't really see. But they throw roots out of the sides. There you go. Can you see that? They stick them, they grow them out the sides of the branches, and they get into the water, and they root, and they keep growing. I don't know if you guys even care about this stuff, but what the hell. Next. That mess right there is the stump of a palm tree that was in the front that got whacked by Hurricane Ian, and I was bringing it back to cut it up, and it kind of rolled down into the swamp here. And it hopefully will turn into a palm tree. This stuff here is called sea lettuce. We've never ever had a crop of it like this before. Doesn't hurt anything, but it's there. That right there is the same palm tree as what I just showed you. This is a cat palm. Again, another pencil cactus. Nice thing about them is that they don't have spines or anything. Right here is one of those little, can I see it? Yeah, Nepalese cactuses. Self-planted. They just grow all over creation. These are just cement pots with some really strange bromeliads and sansevieria. Hey, you like my birds? Yeah, PVC. Now this tree here, this bush, I'm gonna stop and start another one. And this here's my banana plantation. It got whacked pretty good, so I only have a few here. They grow, and as soon as they have bananas, they die. This tree here, bush, is called a Turk's cap. Matthew is probably the only one who knows what that is. It is like a hibiscus. It is the basic hibiscus, and that's as much as the flower ever opens. And it was a real popular plant back in the day in Florida. Every house had to have one. This was called Queen Anne or Queen Emma Crinum lily. Real pretty. They got real pretty purple flowers. This one just flowered, and it's got seeds growing down there. This is the backside of my racetrack. That's my little Burro Pedro. See, Matt, this is the kind of painting I do. Take cement and just paint things up. This was called the cardboard fern. If you could touch it, you know why. At least feel like cardboard. It's Andrea's azalea. She loves azaleas. That's the backside of one of them pencil cactus. I told you it's supposed to be 6 inches tall. It's more like 12 feet tall. Anyway, this is what you call a calla lily. Put it here. This is what you call a pallet. It's been floating here for about 5 years. There was one here about 5 years before that. This is my canal. It's a drainage canal. You can't really put a boat in it. You can put a canoe in it. You can reach the Gulf if you want a portage. It's a drainage canal. But this is what we live on. It's almost 100% fresh water. It's 0.03% salt. End of this video. Next one. This is our newest addition. This is a pathway we put in not too long ago. Our neighbors are the same kind of great people. They're Catholic even. They've got the same kind of hedge here, good privacy, but we just put down paving stones and mulch all the way down. This is one of our shade gardens, all full of ferns and bromeliads and chairs. This is a ponytail palm. This thing's been sitting in this pot for a number of years. One of these days I'm going to have to pop it out and plant it. Got another one, yeah, right over here. More or less its twin. I don't know if I'm boring you guys or not, but that's what it is. They grew up there. And this here's a pencil cactus. We've got a number of these around the yard. They come in dish gardens. Usually you find them about 6 inches tall. That one was a cutting from this one, which was a cutting from another one I'll show you in a second. But again, more and more of this. But now here's an oak tree. And this oak tree is named Charlie. When we moved out of the house in 2004 after Hurricane Charlie hit, we lived in Venice for almost 2 years. We came back and found there's a oak tree growing here. It's great. It's smack dab on the property line with our neighbors, whose name were Jeff and Pam. And it was there for 5 years when we had a discussion because we thought they planted it and we thought they planted it, and guess what? Hurricane Charlie planted it. So we named it, of course, Charlie. This is our pool cage. That's a majestic palm. That palm tree there is probably 10, 12 years old. They're really slow growing. Again, Danny, if you see that, that's some of the Nepalus. This is an almond tree. Smells real good. Started this one from a cutting in the tree in the front. I'll show you that in a minute. Again, Andrew's got a bird bath in here. You got bromeliads all over the place. Andrea wanted a bird feeder. Threw this together in about 5 minutes out of absolute scrap. As you see, he's got tiles on the top from the roof. Those are park benches. I got to remake them. That tall thing is a jade tree, and that's a coffee bush. This thing here is, I think it's an acacia tree. Won't die. Take a look at this. I've got that twisted together and tied together just so it keeps going, because it was destroyed in Hurricane something or other, and all that was left was a stump. I left it in the ground, cut a broken branch off over somewhere down there. It's buried now, and bromeliads, of course. End of video. Oh, look at that. None of that took well. Okay, this is our lanai. Siderica palm and some bromeliads that start growing on their own. That's a Madagascar palm tree. When I bought it, it had one stalk, about 3 inches tall. It grows. Oh, that's not what I want. One of my turtles I painted. Areca palms we rescued from the trash. Never threw them away. Autograph plant. It's a little fountain that we rescued and turned into a planter. Getting ready to make some ribs. Here you go, Russell. Ribs. That's here's Andrew. In the pool with those turtles. Okay, so I lied. I got one more. This is what's called a weeping podocarpus. You can see it kind of hangs. It's a little different, but it's the same plant as that one. Now this is called a pygmy date palm. When we bought it, it had 4 trunks to it. One died. This little one started growing back about 8 years ago. And that's as big as it's gotten. Long grower. These things are nice except for one thing. Spines. Nice, long spines. Everybody says, oh, you need to wear gloves when you work with that. I've discovered that if you don't wear gloves, you don't get hurt. You wear gloves, you get stick. Those agaves that we were talking about, they throw babies. Look where they throw babies. They throw babies all the way over here into my podocarpus. I let them get to a certain size and we dig them up and move them. This is a red maple. We got this from the government. That's a red maple. We got it from the government. They were both about 3 feet tall when we got them. The big one that we're looking at there is probably 6, 7 years old. The little one here is probably about 2 or 3. And that's that tree way in the back. That palm tree is a cat palm, and that is probably 15 years old. And it just keeps growing and growing and growing. Russell, this is the rosemary bush that we brought you the dried rosemary from. And to close for this, this is the blossom of, I think it's a Dutchman's pipe. I'm not sure. It's something that Andrew came up, or is that right? No, it's a blood iris. It's called a blood iris, probably because of the color, but they're really neat. The other one's gonna bloom. This is a split leaf philodendron. They get to be huge. I started that from one leaf from our neighbors next door. This is, you've seen, I'm sure, lucky bamboo, which is not bamboo and it's not lucky, but this is lucky bamboo. All of this is lucky bamboo. It started from one piece that I cut off of one stalk. There's 2 more pieces down there. And these are more of those cowboys. So, okay, end the tour. Hope you're not too bored. Bye, guys. This should be the last in my boring videos. That's my flag, which flies 24/7. Off of my mailbox, which also flies 24/7. And there's the nopales again, in amongst Mexican petunias. Now these things are interesting because they're sterile. They used to make them so that they were just normal, and they would grow everywhere. And again, last time, guess what that is? That is a pencil cactus. I think I'm going to bring some in. But again, nopales down here. Where are they? Pencil cactus. I can barely see the thing in the sunlight. So planted, there you go. They got babies growing on them. These other ones are all these are all different forms of agave. And then you've got more bromeliads. This big red bromeliad we've had a long time. Normally they reproduce by throwing out babies off their roots. Sometimes they bloom out of the center. In this big species, they never have. And there's my big nopales. This one, actually, look at this. I had 2 that wound up just spontaneously in my bricks around my drain. They broke off and fell in there from the storm. This thing is a cycad. Cycads are very old plants. They're hundreds of millions of years old. Not this particular one, but as species. We had 2 of them in those red pots I showed you earlier that our son gave us as a present one time. The other one died. I moved this one out here. It's doing well. Can't remember what this yellow plant is. Andrea knows all about that though. She had to do a presentation on that for our master gardeners. This goes into our inner garden here with our little archway. Here's another one of them. It's our topiary tree. This pink thing is another regular hibiscus. That's a triple hibiscus. Again, it's a tree. My elephant ears, those are mine. I love elephant ears. Spanish bayonets in the back. And this is our, I call it a pond. It's actually a little fountain. But unlike most little fountains, I actually have a garden growing in mine. And I've got stuff growing here. I have cactuses growing. See the Nepalis growing in there? I've got dragon fruit growing in over here. So you have cactuses growing in with water hyacinths, which are banned in Florida. And not only that, but you probably can't see them. But let's see if I can get them moving. I got tadpoles growing in my fountain. And I've got other things growing in there. There is Saint Frank. Francis de Assisi lives in my garden. I don't believe in saints, y'all know that, but Frank was an all-around good guy. And okay, this is the front of our house. Didn't show you the side because it's not here to see. This really tall, really tall thing here is about twice as tall as it should be. It's called a bottle brush tree. It's not in bloom right now, but it throws out these red blooms, kind of similar to that one I showed you. This flame fire bush that's in the middle, we did not plant. It planted itself. The variegated thing with the in front of the grating is a sansevieria, is a schefflera. Matt, you remember yesterday when Andrew was telling you about the inside of hibiscus? This is it. It's a Chinese lantern plant. And here's one on the vine. This is actually a hibiscus. And it's inside out and upside down. It's a beautiful flower. And it's huge. When we planted this, we thought it was going to be about 4 feet tall. And as you can tell, it's more than 4 feet tall. And at one point in time, it was very tall. It was at least twice as tall as that, and I had to pull it back. Now this is what you call your plain old ordinary palm tree, coconut palm tree. I started this from a coconut, and he's slow. He's about 7 years old. He's so small because he was in a pot for about 6 of those, no, probably 5 of those years. If you look at those 2 over there, I gave them to my neighbors. There was a third one there they lost in a storm. They're actually about 3 years younger than mine, but they put them right in the ground, so they had a head start in growing. This is coming up on the front of my house. That in front of you is a yellow hibiscus tree. On the left is a blue agave, what they make tequila out of. On the right are other agaves and a frangipani. Another magnolia tree, which we had to straighten. You see the ropes there. And again, we have it surrounded by bromeliads. Next, this is the side of our lanai. You can tell my house is a jungle. Again, this here is an areca palm, and it's really tall. We've cleaned this out pretty much. It used to be really full. But after the hurricane, it was kind of really impinging on the screen for the pool cage. More bromeliads. This is called a caterpillar plant because it has these really bizarre red efflorescences on them when they come out. And so that's, we get rid of them. This is a powder puff plant. There's a nice little flower that comes out on that. And so most of this Andrew's doing, I just do the heavy lifting. Have y'all ever heard of mother's and long tongue or steak plant? That's a different variety of it. It's a sansevieria. This is what's called a fire spike. It's a fire spike. It's a red fire spike. We've got them in purple too. And that's the flower on that. This is also called a fire bush. Andrea trimmed it this morning while I was sleeping. Because it's much bushier than that, we're turning it back into a tree. We lost everything in Hurricane Ian down to there. And you can see where that went to? And so in 6 months, it has done that. And again, that tree right there, that bush right there, is the same as that one right there. They're bought same time for $10 at Walmart.